So you're thinking about moving to Michigan. Before moving to Michigan, you should check out this video of 10 pros and 10 cons of living here in Michigan. Actually, this is part 2 of 10 pros and 10 cons. This is just the cons. So 10 cons of living here in Michigan. Hello and welcome. If you're tuning in from the previous video, I apologize. We ran out of time on that one. This video is 10 pros and 10 cons of living here in Michigan. 10 pros is actually on a previous video. So if you're watching this video, you're actually only going to get 10 cons. Check out our other video for the 10 pros as well too. I ran out of time. I am a talker, as y'all know if you watch my videos. My name is Matt Talbot. My team and I help people just like you every single day move here to Michigan, and we absolutely live for it. We get calendar invites, text messages, carrier pigeons, smoke signals, Facebook messages. Okay, we get a lot of different inquiries of people that want to move here to the state, and we absolutely love it. So in this video, it's part 2 of our first video, 10 pros and 10 cons of moving here in Michigan, and these are going to be our 10 cons. So we're going to roll through those, but if you're thinking about moving to the great state of Michigan, comment below, send us a DM, or fill out the Calendly link here on YouTube, and we'll set up a consultation, set up a chat today. So getting right into it, 10 cons of living here in Michigan. There's tons of pros of living in Michigan, but just like anywhere else you're going to live, there's some serious cons that you should also know about and be prepared for if you're going to move here to Michigan. Coming in at number 1 on our list, this is a no-brainer depending on who you are, and that is our harsh winters is Michigan's number 1 con in my opinion. So winters are fairly lengthy here in Michigan. They've been actually a little bit less harsh the last couple years. It kind of comes in waves, but there is a lot of long winter days, okay guys? So if you're moving to Michigan, the winters have some beautiful days, beautiful snowfall, a lot of things to do. If you're into outdoor activities in the cold, you can go, skiing up north, you can go sledding. There's a lot of pros to the winter as well too, but if you're not into winter, you're going to get those winter days. It's just part of the gig. Now, the flip side of that, in my opinion, is I believe if you're from Michigan, you deal with these long, harsh winters, you appreciate fall, spring, and summer that much more. So we have a lot of seasons here in Michigan, and to me, if you can grind through those harsh winters, or if you're lucky enough or have the opportunity to do a little bit of traveling during those winter months, then that's a fantastic way to go about it, because the winters can be very, very long. But many people have a second home, especially once they get into that more like retirement, semi-retirement age, typically later in life because they can afford it, I think. But a lot of people have a second home down in Florida or Texas, or a lot of people will be in Arizona, stuff like that, for a second home. They call them snowbirds. So once it starts snowing, they're out of here for the majority of the winter, which to me is like my dream lifestyle. Michigan's fantastic, but my biggest con is definitely the winters here. So my long-term goal as a person from Michigan that plans on staying in Michigan for the rest of my life, wants a second home or the ability to travel during the winter months and be a little bit of a snowbird. If you break up the winter a little bit, it's fun to be here for part of it. The snow's beautiful and stuff like that, but I try to get out here from time to time if I can. Number 2 on our list is a direct parallel to number 1, and that's our seasonal changes. I think this could be looked at as pro or a con. I actually think it's more of a pro than a con. I love the fall. I love the spring. Spring means opportunity. Spring means a new start, and you really feel that here in Michigan after that long, cold, horrible winter. And fall is fantastic for most people here in Michigan. It's their most beautiful, best part of the year. We made actually a cider mill contest, I think, a year ago. I think we did 5. How many videos did we do, Nick? 7 cider mills here in Southeast Michigan. So cider mills are huge, cider, donuts, all that stuff, fall sports, you're into football and everything. It's beautiful here in Michigan. But the seasonal changes for a lot of people are a con, right? There's just a change in pace. It's not, beautiful, sunny Colorado where it's sunny every day, even though you get different seasons there. It's not going to be California. There's going to be some changes throughout the year. There's going to be 90-degree days in the summer, and there's going to be negative 10-degree days in the winter at times. So there's going to be a change throughout the year. I think if you lean into that a little bit and appreciate it, that circle of life, there's something to learn from that. And to me, I think people from Michigan appreciate some of those nicer days a little bit more because they go through so much hell outside of that, to be honest with you. There's so much other shit they have to deal with. So seasonal change can definitely be a con for a lot of people. The other thing too is getting your body used to it a little bit and having, the differences in pace as far as, immune system and all that type of stuff during the seasonal changes. Another reason why seasonal changes in Michigan can be a con for a lot of people, again, can be a pro for a lot of people, is you need a huge wardrobe, okay? Luckily here in Michigan, we have basements, unlike a lot of other places in the country, because you have to store all your crap, right? You're gonna have winter clothes, you're gonna have summer clothes, you're gonna have spring clothes, you need light jackets, you need rain jackets, you need heavy parkas, you need gloves, mittens, snow pants, boots, muddy shoes. There's a lot of variety of clothes that you need. So depending on the time of year that you're traveling here, if you're coming to visit, your suitcase is gonna be a lot bigger than going somewhere where it's always warm and sunny, because there's just a variety of different stuff. Now, if you're into fashion and you like that, you can definitely switch up the vibe quite a bit. You have these different flavors throughout the year. People love, spring, and people love fall a lot. It's like hoodie season, nice jeans. It gets you to the point where it's like a comfy thing in the fall. So there's a reason why people really, really enjoy the seasons as well too. But if you're not into buying clothes and you're not into having a huge wardrobe and a big closet full of stuff, Michigan's going to be a tough one for you. Coming in at number 3 on our list, and this is a true one. I don't love talking about this specifically. I don't love talking about the cons because I think I'm very optimistic guy, so I'm always kind of flipping it to the pros. But urban decay here in Michigan, there's a lot of it specifically in Detroit and Metro Detroit. One of the reasons we're so heavily influenced by the auto industry, so as the auto industry has changed through the years, Detroit has changed pretty drastically as well too. At one point, it was the epicenter of the world, and we had some really tough years for a while. What's fun about that now is there's this huge change in the city. There's a whole different vibe and energy happening downtown, and the fun part about it is you have a tons of history and all these vacant buildings and all these big skyscrapers that are now be completely renovated in a whole new light, in a whole new way. And to me, it's one of my favorite parts of living in Detroit. It's one of my favorite parts of seeing all the changes here in Michigan, is watching my hometown where I'm from really have this crazy evolution, and hopefully into something that's significantly better than at least it's been over the past few years. So as that change happens, I think it's going to be much more of a pro than a con, but it has been a con for a lot of years. There's been a lot of blight in the city of Detroit. We get a really, really bad rap. The city's current mayor has done a lot to actually remove the blight. They've torn down and boarded up thousands of houses over the last couple years, actually a few years now. They put city lights throughout the entire city, so everything's more well lit, and there's a lot of different initiatives happening in the city consistently, new parks, complete renovations of things that are really bringing it back to life. And as that happens, if you're into history, if you're into, new things combined with an old school swag, Detroit has that. But there definitely is some urban decay. We're dealing with a lot of those issues in the city, and I think we're actually over the first major hurdle, and we're really on the upside here in the city of Detroit. So from a real estate perspective and an investment perspective, there's a lot of parts of Detroit where, we're seeing appreciation of 2,000%, 2,500%, 800% in a lot of different neighborhoods. So because of the changes through the years, there's a lot of appreciation. There's a lot of big companies downtown Detroit now as well too. We're seeing real money getting put into the city, and it's really fun to watch it change. It's great to be a part of. So if you're into that stuff, it's much more of a pro, but there's definitely a con into a lot of the urban decay throughout the city. Coming in at number 4 on our list of cons of living in Michigan is higher property taxes. So if you saw my other video, the 10 pros of living in Michigan, the cost of your home is actually on the lower side here in Michigan, but property taxes are a little bit higher overall as far as purchasing and owning a house in Michigan. We're ranked 18th. It's not like we're the highest in the country by any means. We're ranked 18th, and that came from propertytax.org, I think is where we found that statistic, at least currently. So we're a little bit on the higher end as far as property taxes. That is a con. Now for me, what do you get out of those property taxes is always very, very important, and there's a lot of good things happening as well too. Again, I'm always kind of going to the pro side of things, but we are on the higher side of property taxes. So a little bit more bang for your buck from a housing perspective, a little bit higher property taxes as you're looking to purchase here in Michigan. If you need specifics on certain areas, parts of town, cities, townships, counties, what have you, send us a DM, send me an email, Matt, M-A-T-T, at listing, listingmi.com. We can get you any specifics that you need on any areas as you're kind of sorting through where to move and where the property taxes might be a little bit lower or higher. Coming in at number 5 on our list as a con here in Michigan and that's traffic congestion. I'm going to add to that. My note here on my screen says traffic congestion. I would say it's a combination really between roads and traffic congestion. So I actually believe the congestion isn't necessarily anywhere near like a lot of other places in the country. If you go to Los Angeles or New York or a lot of other big cities, getting in and out of the city. Even like I have a friend that's in Colorado and he has to go to the mountains for work and he comes back down, and there's a lot of congestion sometimes in Colorado as well too. But anyway, so because of our general population and because of the city of Detroit and the size of it, I don't think we have this major congestion, but it does get congested because our roads are horrible. Like, they're really, really, really bad. So like, if you want to drive like a low profile car and like you need like specific tires and all that type of stuff, this is not the state for you. Okay, the roads are bad. The reason why they're so bad, or at least what we're told, is that because of ice melt, right? So we have the harsh Michigan winters, and when there's a lot of days that go from freezing to warm throughout the winters and into spring and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ice wedging where the snow melts, it gets between the cracks, it freezes again and spreads it back out, and cracks all the concrete and all the asphalt throughout the city. So because of that, there always seem to be working on the roads, at least here in Southeast Michigan mostly, where there's always an expressway or something shut down and it causes some congestion. I would say the flip side of that, the city of Detroit and some other areas, it is pretty easy to get around when there isn't this type of traffic and this type of congestion due to road work, and there is a pretty good system throughout Southeast Michigan to do workarounds and stuff like that. So even if you're like a half hour normal distance from something, worst case is like you're 45 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. We don't have these 2-hour delays that you see in a lot of other big cities or anything like that. But because they're always working on the roads, there definitely is some traffic congestion, and I promise you will not like the roads here in Michigan. Lots of bumps, lots of potholes. We're always working on it. They're always kind of doing their thing to protect it. It's one of the biggest cons here in Michigan is the condition of the roads. Number 7 on our list of cons here in Michigan are mosquitoes and bugs. So if you travel up north a lot and you like to do your traveling throughout Michigan, some seasons are better than others and certain times of the year are worse than others. But definitely because of all the lakes, I mentioned that as a con in our previous video, there's a lot of wet areas throughout Michigan. Wet areas breed mosquitoes, right? So you definitely need your bug spray up north. If you're into outdoor activities, if you like hunting or hiking or stuff like that, bring your bug spray for sure. There's a lot of mosquitoes and bugs. There's certain times of the year where certain areas in the state, depending on the year, will have those horse flies as well too. Those are friggin' horrible. But like, I don't know why, like for some reason mosquitoes and horse flies love me. I must have like really good tasting blood, but I'm always getting bit by those damn things up north. Anyway, so mosquitoes and bugs, you got to be cautious of where you're living. One thing about purchasing a home sometimes is because of all the lakes and ponds and stuff like that, lean into your realtor and say, like there might be a retention pond or something by a certain house. If there's a lot of wooded lots, if you plan on spending a lot of time in that backyard, be a little bit cautious of the amount of mosquitoes at certain times of the year, because some places, and if you're from the state, you can really kind of lean into understanding what places are going to be mosquito breeding grounds or not. But that can be a problem and can definitely be a major con here in Michigan. Number 8 on our list. This is one of my favorites as far as a con here in Michigan because it drives me a little bit crazy, but that's limited public transportation, okay? So in the city of Detroit, in Southeast Michigan specifically, which is our biggest metro area, right? There really is very limited public transportation compared to other places that I've been in the country, and there's a reason for that. So through the years, if you read into history as far as Southeast Michigan, we are known, one of our specific nicknames here in Michigan is known to be the Motor City. Motor City, motors, like as in motor car motors. We're known to be the car city, right? Because this is where the Big Three's from. This is where the automobile, Model T was born. This is where the assembly line was born. So for a lot of years, it was all about buying cars, buying American-made cars and driving. So our interstates are set up specifically for that in Southeast Michigan, specifically in Detroit. And because of that, I think a lot of the auto companies, I don't know if they purchased out or fought against or what have you, lobbied against, a lot of public transportation as far as in the city. So we have some new stuff that's recently gone in Detroit. The Q line runs up and down Woodward, and there's been some recent proposals to add to the public transportation. But if you're one of those people that live in Chicago and take the L all the time, or other big areas like that, right? As far as public transportation, it's not super easy to get around. There is a bus system. You can take a bus from Detroit to Ann Arbor. You can take a bus from Detroit to Chicago. There's some stuff set up. It's not like completely impossible, but you don't have this really great public transportation transportation, in my opinion. It's fun as technology changes, though, as far as like right downtown, you have like, you know, the Lime scooters and, you know, all different, you know, rent bikes and stuff like that. There's actually, you know, different like party buses and weird bicycle things that are all throughout the city. So there's some stuff that's being added as far as public transportation, but this has been one of my least favorite things that I think we should lean into, at least not to get too political here, but I think we should lean into adding public transportation a little bit more throughout the southeast Michigan portion of Michigan, at least, because I think it will definitely help generate and stimulate the economy and get people around. But anyway, public transportation, if you're looking for that, there's not a ton of it here in southeast Michigan. Coming in at number 9 on our list is dependence on certain industries. So we have economic dependence on certain industries. Like I mentioned earlier in our pros, we're known for those industries. So the auto industry being number 1, or healthcare being also a huge industry, manufacturing being huge. Because of that, there's a lot of technology that's actually circling around the auto industry, which is very interesting when it comes to autonomous cars and electric cars and stuff like that. So we're very kind of lean towards these industries, which is why, you know, 2007, 2008, when there was the housing bubble and the collapse, the auto industry got hit really hard too, because the auto industry was going through its own challenges at that time. So we're definitely heavily weighted and, you know, really leaning on specific industries. That being said, I would say the flip side of that, in a lot of states, a lot of areas, isn't everywhere like that. Like, isn't California known for, like, you know, technology and making movies, and, you know, different places are known for different things, right? That's kind of the idea. However, it can definitely be a con, because if there's changes in these industries or major disruptions, right, it's definitely going to affect the area as a whole, the economy as a whole, and definitely affect, you know, housing, all that type of stuff. So very dependent on very specific industries, as I think a lot of areas are here in Michigan. Okay, coming in at number 10 on our list. Again, these videos on both the pro side of the video and the con side of the videos were in any particular order. I'm switching it. My list here says humidity in the summer. We do have humid summers, but I don't think that's that bad compared to a lot of places, to be honest with you. In our summers, like, the humid, heavy part is kind of short-lived anyway, so I don't think it's horrible. However, we do have some humidity, without a doubt. But I would say number 10, number 1 for me, ties into our first one on the list, was our harsh winters. We have what I call gray days. So number 10 on our list are gray days here in Michigan. There's definitely a lot of gray days. The sun is not always out. It just is what it is. I want to rip the band-aid off and tell you the truth, because here in Michigan, you're gonna get a lot of it. If you're not prepared for it, it can be a lot, can be daunting. So again, I love the idea of spending a lot of time here in fall, in spring, in summer months, and trying to travel a little bit, be a snowboard, or, you know, go visit family, or, you know, work remotely or whatever throughout the winter to break it up a little bit. Because, you know, although the winters are harsh and there's a lot of snow and stuff like that, the grayness, I think, is what gets to people the most. It's not necessarily the harsh winters and the snow. That can be beautiful, actually lightens things up a little bit, but there is a lot of gray days, just kind of gloomy days here in Michigan. So that's number 10 on my list. I can't promise it's all good in here in Michigan, but the pros, in my opinion, 100% outweigh the cons in our great state. There's so much stuff to do. You really appreciate the seasons and the good things that we have, because you got to get through some of the more gray, cloudy days as well too. And isn't that just the moral of life? Not to get too cheesy here, but anyway, if you are thinking about moving to the state, if this video provided any value to you, please hit subscribe, tap for notifications, set us a calendar link, however you'd like to contact with us. Let us know, what other videos would you like posted? What other information do you need here in Southeast Michigan, throughout the state, as far as moving here to Michigan?